Hello students, I hope you are quite well at home. Now let us begin our second chapter of history, that is from trade to territory. In this chapter I would like to highlight so many points. So let's begin with the introduction. The British came to India. The main purpose was trade. They had nothing to do with the expansion of territory. Now, how all these things started and how they moved from trade to territory would be discussed in this class. It all started with the Mughal emperor, and the last and the most powerful emperor was Aurangzeb. Afterwards, there was no powerful emperor that came to power, and the power of Mughals slowly started to dissolve. This is the oldest picture. In this picture, Captain Hodson is arresting Bahadur Shah Jafar and his son. During that time, company was gaining strength in all the areas. The company first came to India with the chartered pass by Queen Elizabeth I. Many people came from other countries, so Vasco da Gama also came. So I would like to keep a question for you. Who discovered India? The answer would be Vasco da Gama. Vasco da Gama discovered India. Vasco da Gama was Portuguese sailor. So many traders came there, like traders came from Dutch, traders from France coming to India. All of these were competing trade. Only purpose of trade was get the things at the lesser price from India and other countries across the world and sell it back into Europe at a higher price. For example, cotton, silk, all the spices, paper, cardamom, and so on and so forth. So these were the things that they used to sell it back at a higher prices. Now our next topic is East India Company begins trade in Bengal. The East India Company started its business in Bengal. The first English factory started in the year 1651 on the bank of Hooghly River. Traders used to run their work from here. These traders were called factors. The factory had warehouse and kept things for export. There were also offices where the officer was sitting, which spread out his company. Then the traders started settling around the company. Fort started building around the company by 1696. After 2 years, bribing Mughal officers brought land in three villages. One of them was Kalikata, which later became Calcutta. Now, in present time, it's called Kolkata. The Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb issued a farman, which means a royal order, granting the company the right to trade duty free. In the early 18th century, the conflict between the company and the Nawab of Bengal had greatly increased. After the death of Aurangzeb, the Nawab of Bengal showed their strength. Wardi Ali Khan was the most powerful ruler after Murshid Quli Khan, and then Sirajutollah was the Nawab of Bengal. He refused to give any concession to the company. Instead of giving the right to trade, he asked the company to give him the right to put coins. After this, there was a lot of confusion and complexities. There was a problem and later emerged as the Battle of Plassey. Now our next topic is the Battle of Plassey. The first Battle of Plassey took place on 23rd June 1757 in place called Plassey on the bank of the Ganges River near Murshidabad. In this war, on one side was the army of British East India Company, on the other side was army of the Nawab of Bengal. The army of company defeated Nawab Sirajutollah under the leadership of Robert Clive. But this war cannot be considered as a victory of the company because before the war, Clive had conspired with the three generals of the Nawab, his courtier Amir Seth, Jagat Seth, and so on and so forth. The Nawab entire family had not even participated in this war. Immediately after the war, Nawab was killed by Mir Jafar's son Miran. War is considered very unfortunate for India. It is from this war that the story of Indian slavery begins. The Battle of Plassey became very famous because it was the first major victory of the company won in India. Sirajutollah was killed after the Battle of Plassey, and Mir Jafar became the Nawab of Bengal. The company was opposed to Mir Jafar, then the company removed Jafar, and Mir Qasim became the Nawab of Bengal. When Mir Qasim persecuting people, company declared again Mir Jafar as the Nawab of Bengal. Finally, in the year 1765, the Mughal emperor appointed the company as the Diwan of Bengal province. Next topic is company officials become Nawabs. After the Plassey War, the real Nawab of Bengal were forced to give the land and lot of money to the officers of the company as personal gifts. It was Robert Clive himself who had accumulated a lot of wealth in India. When he came to Madras, now it's called Chennai, from England in the year 1745, he was just 18 years old. He left India forever and became governor 14 times in the year 1767. He had lot of wealth. No governor could compete him. Later, he merged in corruption. Eventually, he also committed suicide in the year 1774. If we look at the process of combination of Indian state by the East India Company between 1757 and 1857, some important things come to light that in some unknown area and the company did not live directly. After the Battle of Buxar in the year 1764, the company appointed residents in the Indian states. They were political and commercial agents. Their job was to protect interest of the company and to advance them through the right of the company to the affair of the Indian state. They also started interfering in who would be the next king, on which post, who would be seated, the official of the company also. Next topic is Tipu Sultan, the Tiger of Mysore. Mysore had a strength under the leadership of powerful ruler like Hyder Ali. Hyder Ali was the father of Tipu Sultan. Hyder Ali ruled from 1761 to 1782 and his famous son Tipu Sultan ruled from 1782 to 1799. Mysore controlled the profitable trade of the Malabar coast where the company purchased pepper and cardamom. In 1785, Tipu Sultan stopped the export of sandalwood, pepper, and cardamom through the ports of his kingdom. He disallowed local merchants from the trading with the company. He also established a close relationship with the French in India and modernized his army with their help. British were very furious because Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan was very ambitious, arrogant and dangerous ruler who had to be controlled and crushed. Four wars were fought with Mysore. Only in the last, the Battle of Srirangapattam, did the company ultimately win a victory. Tipu Sultan was killed defending his capital Srirangapattam. Mysore was placed under the former ruling dynasty of Vodiyar and the subsidiary alliance with imposed on the state. Next topic is war with Marathas. From the 18th century, the company was thinking to destroy Maratha power. And finally, in the Third Battle of Panipat in the year 1761, Maratha are crushed. They were divided into many states under different chiefs belonging to dynasties such as Sindha, Holkar, Gaiwad, and so on and so forth. These chiefs were held together in confederacy under Peshwa. Later, several battles happened. Marathas are forced to kneel down. First war In 1782, Second War 1803 were fought. No one won. Eventually, the Third Anglo-Maratha War of 1817-19 crushed Maratha power. Next topic is the climb to Paramount Sea. Under the leadership of first Governor General Lord Hastings, a new policy of paramountcy was initiated. The company claimed that its authority was supreme, hence, its power was greater than Indian state. In order to protect its interest, it believed in the right to acquire or threaten to acquire Indian princely state even after thinking that it continued to appear in the policies of the British. But the process did not go on. For example, when the British tried to capture a small state in Karnataka, at present Kittur, Rani Chinnamma took up arms and started a movement against the British. She was arrested and sent to prison, and later on she died. Now our next topic is the doctrine of lapse. When Lord Dalhousie became the Governor General, he passed new law, which is known as the Doctrine of Lapse. Under this law, throne does not have a male successor. That throne would be next by the British. And if there is a male hierarchy who come to the throne, he would be ruled. He will be ruling the state. Otherwise, that state would come under the British control. By that principle, they annexed Satara, Sambalpur, Udaipur, Nagpur, Jhansi went under control of British. Finally, in the year 1856, the company also took over Awadh. This time, the British had an added argument. They said they were obliged by duty to take over Awadh in order to free the people from the misgovernment of the Nawabs, angered by the humiliating way in which the Nawab was disposed. The people of Awadh joined the great revolt that broke out in 1857. Next topic is setting up a new administration. Warren Hastings was a Governor General from 1773 to 1785, was one of the many important figures who played a significant role in the expansion of company power. By his time, the company had acquired power not only in Bengal but also in the Bombay and Madras. British territory were broadly divided into administrative units called presidencies. There were three presidencies: Bengal, Madras, and Bombay. Each was ruled by a governor. The supreme head of the administration was the Governor General. Warren Hastings, the first Governor General, introduced several administrative reforms in the sphere of justice. From 1772, a new system of justice was established. Each district was to have two courts: a criminal court, Fikrdari Adalat, and civil court, Diwani Adalat. Maulvis and Hindus Pandit interpreted Indian laws for the European districts collector who presided over civil courts. The criminal courts were still under a quasi, which means a judge, and mufti, which means like a Muslim community, but under the supervision of the collectors. A major problem was that the Brahmins Pandit gave a different interpretations of local laws based on different schools of Dharmashastras to bring about uniformity. The principal figure in Indian district was the collector, as the title suggests. His main job was to collect revenue and tax and maintain law and order in his districts with the help of judges, police officers, and darogas. Next topic is the company army. The company has new idea of governance and reform in India, but its real power was in the strength of the soldiers. Mughal were mainly horsemen and foot fighters. They could be trained in archery, which means tirandaji, and the use of sword. Cavalry. which means Ghudsavar Sena. The cavalry dominated the army, and the Mughal state did not feel the need to have a large professionally trained infantry. The rural area had a large number of armed peasants, and the local zamindars often supplied the Mughals with pedal soldiers. The East India Company adopted the same method when it began recruitment for its own army, which came to be known as sepoy, from the Indian word sipahi, meaning soldier. As a conclusion, East India Company was grew up from a trading company to the territorial colonial power. It used to take 6 to 8 months to reach India by sea route, but in the steamship it reduced the journey time to the 3 weeks. Afterwards, many Englishmen and their family came to India. By 1857, company rule was established over about 63% of the territory and the 78% of the population of Indian subcontinent. Thus, the East India Company had virtually the whole of India under its control. With this, we wind up this chapter, Trade to Territory. Thank you.